I always say that if you have a propensity towards violence and you want to be a functional psychopath, go into the military because you can have a great deal of success there. Online societies and communities can be fantastic and very, very supportive. We do need to just go back to basic community. Human connections are the most powerful thing that we have to heal.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Her Voice Impacts. I'm Daniela Ion, and we are amplifying women's stories globally, from arts, entertainment, culture, business. So many women with so many inspiring stories and journeys. But today, I have the pleasure of talking to Kerry Daynes, a well sought after forensic psychologist, and her journey is very interesting. She's written these amazing books. We're going to be talking about the books, but also we're going to be talking about her story from her soul, and also how she is impacting other women who have gone through situations in their lives such as stalking. And I found sitting down with Kerry so enlightening because she has gone into the minds of some of the darkest stories of other people's lives, and how she has mixed empathy and compassion into this. And you will find it very interesting as well, because it speaks to the heart of the human and how we are all human, and at the same time creating community to bring people back together again, talking about their story. Storytelling is what it's all about. So let's check out Kerry Daynes and her amazing story at the same time. It is such a pleasure to have you here on Her Voice Impacts. And as you know, soul story is so important for so many women listening, and you definitely do have one. I've had the pleasure of reading your book, The Dark Side of the Mind, which I have not been able to put down. It is so intriguing, and also how you're interweaved in that. This is the beauty of your writing. It's like you, and then the characters, and then as you said, the level is probably PG of what I'm reading, and I would like to know more, of course. This is a really interesting journey that you've had, and I read in the beginning of the book that you used to spend time with your grandmother watching movies, and that's a beautiful way to start this story, and how you entered into being a forensic psychologist. Because a lot of people think, oh, psychology, yeah, you just talk to people all day and you sort out their problems. It's a little bit more than that.
My grandmother was Irish, and she had a little flat, and she had a little black and white television set, because of course this was the 70s. So all of my cultural references come from television, I realised when I was writing this book. But wow. She used to enjoy watching westerns. So we watched all of these westerns. I developed a crush on John Wayne.
Oh my goodness! Well, who wouldn't in those days? I
expected all men to be 6'5" and
and riding a horse.
Yeah, exactly. Preferably. Not many of those in Manchester. And she'd always say when the villain came on, "Oh, he's a bad un, or a badgeon." Yeah, she used to put a J in there. And I think I grew up with these notions that there are good people and there are bad people, because that's every fairy tale we're ever told, isn't it? And I thought, well, obviously, I want to be on the side of good, and I want to do something heroic. And I started getting interested in true crime, but I'd always been interested in, shall we say, the more unusual and macabre. I used to really enjoy reading Roald Dahl as well.
Wow, what a mixture.
Yeah, I didn't read his children's books. I read the books that Tales of the Unexpected.
Wow.
Were I think that's what it was called, Tales of the Unexpected. It was a whole collection of short stories.
Yes.
And they were so, there was one about an elderly landlady that would taxidermy her bed and breakfast visitors. So you can imagine what this must do to the
Wow.
psyche of me as I'm growing up. So I think that I just felt attracted to a life less ordinary, shall we say.
Mm, mm.
So I decided, but actually later on in life, that I was going to become a forensic psychologist. I initially was hoping to go into advertising. I wanted to be an advertising executive.
That makes sense because psychology is marketing in a sense as
Well, that
well,
is
which,
exactly why I took psychology at
yes,
university. And I always say that actually my reason for pivoting was because of the influence of cider and hormones during Freshers Week, because there was just a very good looking boy in the law
oh,
subsidiary. So I decided to take the law subsidiary, and I never plucked up the courage to speak to him.
no,
So no, I
why?
sat, this is it. I was very quiet. I was very shy. And I sat and I looked at the back of his beautiful head. But I did
For a
get
long
very,
time.
for a long time, yes. And I got very interested in psychology and law because I found that, the subject fascinating. So I got pulled in by the law subsidiary, and I loved psychology. So how could I marry the two together? Well, here we go. We've got somebody who enjoys true crime. I'm going to become a
Yes.
forensic psychologist. And somebody actually said to me, that's no job for a girl.
Oh, well, let's look at the data of a
Exactly,
forensic
exactly that. So I
psychologist.
actually think we need more men in forensic
Yeah,
psychology.
you
It
did
is
say
over
that.
80% female.
Mm,
So, but that was like a red rag to a bull to me. I was very idealistic at that time,
yes.
so I thought, no job for a girl. Well, I'm going to show you.
Yeah, you go in.
There
You
you
go in
go.
as a lady. Yeah, and this is the great thing is that it kind of what I'm getting to is that if you didn't take a step out to even do that, you wouldn't have come to that conclusion that you'd like to be a forensic psychologist. Even though it started with marketing,
Yes.
it took you on the journey. And sometimes we want everything to show up all at once and go, oh, that's what I've got to do there. My life is sorted. But I
I
don't
know.
think it's that way.
This is it. And I get so many messages from aspiring forensic psychologists, which I absolutely love. But I always say to them, don't specialize too soon, because you don't
Mm,
know whether a passion is going to arise out of just doing a general psychology degree. And you might find that it's not forensic psychology that floats your boat or is your passion. It might be child psychology, or it might be marketing, or it might be,
yes.
there's so many doors that psychology opens because, of
Yes.
course, it's the science of everything and everyone. So I just think don't make those decisions too soon. Wait and see which subject really speaks to you.
How important is it for that self-discovery to happen at a young age and to be in that place of
I think
exploration?
you've got to explore, haven't you? You've got to take different avenues, and some of them might be dead ends. And I know that
Mm.
I was very keen to get on the career ladder, and once you're
Why
on
is
it,
that?
you've
Why
got
did you
to
have to?
you've got to keep climbing. And
Mm.
actually, I don't know, to be honest, as I've moved through life, I've pivoted at various different stages, always held true to psychology. But I think that you've just got to be curious and see what, as I say, what speaks to you and what is a real passion. And I am
Mm.
very, very lucky in that I can honestly say that my work has been my passion for 30 years, which means
Yes.
that if I didn't have to work, and unfortunately I do, but if I didn't have to work, I would anyway. I
Yes.
love it. I would do it as a hobby. So I think very few people can say that, but when you can say that, it's a life well lived, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And I think what we're seeing now in young women and the power of social media and the choices now have become very different to what they are and what they were in our
Very,
time.
Oh, yes.
Right. And so then you look at it, like, how do you explain from you being in this area of psychology your entire life? Where are we heading with the power of social media and this facade? Because a lot of it kind of is. And then the reality of what life is.
I know. And so many young girls now, they want to be influencers.
Yeah, I was just about to say,
And
without
that
saying.
is just, that's one of the areas where actually women do make more money than men. So I can
Yes.
understand, yes.
Yes.
And also, women feel that they need to go on to OnlyFans
Yes.
because they're told that that's also a way to make lots of money. And so I think that there's a lot of selling your soul, really. I think that some people do influencing really, really well and really authentically. But for many, I think they're chasing a dream and they're trying to project an image of themselves that isn't truly them. And I think that when what you do is out of line with actually your core self, who you are and your values, it just creates so many problems, doesn't it?
I so agree with you. And the amount of women that I have had the pleasure of sitting down with have said the same thing. If you are out of alignment with
Absolutely.
your soul, now your flesh and your body and your mind might say one thing, but there's something distinctively different about the soul. Now, I don't know whether from your studies as a psychologist, where do you see the level of the soul playing a part in this
Well,
this life's journey?
yeah, I'm very practical. I'm very
Yes.
practically minded. So when I think about the soul, what is it to me? To me, I think your soul is your core values and your core motivation and your passions, what you deeply care about.
Yes.
And I think that, as you say, if you follow those, then you never really will work a day in your life. That's the saying. Of course you will. Everybody has to work a day in their life, but it will keep you going through those, those times of hard slog, and you can sleep deeply at night. I think that we talk a lot about happiness and the science of happiness.
Yes.
And of course, I always do boil it down to science. And actually, there's so much evidence there about, like, as you say, alignment with what you truly believe. And I think so many people go through life not really knowing what their core values are.
No, Kerry, and this is what I was going to talk about in the fact of like, how does it work when, you possibly might have not grown up in the most amazing environment, first of
Yeah.
all, or your parents or caretakers were not very kind to you, or the system that you were invited into with your schooling or education, or you just didn't have that opportunity. How does someone tap into the resource of going, yes, my soul is guiding me and I need to get away from all of this? It's such
Exactly.
a,
And the thing is, it's easy to say, isn't it? Follow
it
your
is.
passions, follow your
Yeah.
soul. But actually, practically, how do you do that? And your soul is the
Yes.
last thing that you're thinking about. You're thinking about how you're going to, feed your children or what you're going to do when you can't read or write. The majority of the
Yes.
men that I worked with in jail had very, very poor literacy skills. And one of the most important and life-changing things for them was being taught to read and write from a
Yes.
purely
Yes. The
practical
basics.
point of view. Yeah, but then I also see I'm going to use one of my clients here. So
Oh, I love
somebody
this.
that people know as Charles Bronson, who is to some people Britain's most violent and disruptive inmate in jail. And certainly has been that during his time. He's not that now. He's now 70, 71, I think Charlie is.
Wow.
He's changed his name to Charles Salvador.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because Salvador means man and beast. And he feels that at
Gee.
times he's lost his humanity in prison. And so
Wow.
I know. So that reflects that. And he's now efforts, and he does put effort into maintaining his humanity. And a big changing point for him was when somebody gave him, whilst he was in solitary confinement, a piece of paper and a pencil. It was as simple as that. And you have to understand that actually in jail, somebody can use a pencil as a weapon.
As a weapon.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a level of risk in giving him a pencil, but nevertheless, and the prison officer said to him, "Come on, Charlie, you can't carry on like this. Why don't you try and write your feelings down, draw your feelings?" And now Charlie views himself as an artist. And whenever he's struggling with, flashbacks of things that have happened to him or rage against the system and authority, he pours it into his artwork. And that is his passion. And that is his soul spilling out onto paper. And it's really enabled him to turn his behavior around. And also just find so much value and meaning and worth. He's raised thousands for charity via his artwork.
That is.
He's had 90 books published whilst an inmate. Yeah, so he's achieved amazing things. And I think, just the self-esteem and the achievement that allows. So I think that for an awful lot of people, really is a matter of what opportunities have they had or had not. And I lecture to A-level students who are thinking of going into psychology, and they do love some gory stories. And of course, they all love the word psychopath. Everybody's intrigued by the word psychopath.
What? It's because it's on social media everywhere. Are you dating a psychopath? Are you sleeping with a psychopath? And it's like, seriously?
Everywhere. And who hasn't referred to somebody as a psycho?
Yeah.
Their psycho box, their psycho X.
Box.
Yeah, if I hear that from somebody on a date, I'm out the door. I don't want to hear about your psycho.
I know. Red flags if he's a psycho.
Exactly. But what I talk to them about in amongst this quite lurid subject of psychopaths is actually what separates a very successful, highly functional psychopath from somebody who is a dysfunctional psychopath.
Ooh.
And often it is the ability to, control your impulses, combined with education and opportunities. So signs of psychopathy, being risk averse, being fearless, being able to make quick decisions, which some people would see as impulsivity. They are things that we look for in business people. Yeah. So can be actually highly functional in certain types of environments. So that just shows you that it's not necessarily the individual, but how that individual is shaped, by the opportunities that they are given, how they can control the dials, I suppose. Can they turn down their impulsivity?
Wow.
Can they turn up their risk taking when they've done a little bit of calculation? That's what separates somebody. And of course, it does help if they don't have a propensity towards violence. I always say that if you have a propensity towards violence and you want to be a functional psychopath, go into the military because you can have a great deal of success there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's fascinating, isn't it?
I do think that there are niches for most people, but it's whether or not they find them, and so many people get lost.
Yes, they get lost and then
so many traumatic and dysfunctional and discriminatory things happen to people along the way, shape their journey, and then they become something that often society doesn't even recognize as human. But I think it's very important that we do recognize the humanity.
It's amazing that, because I hear this compassion and empathy, and some people would just be black and white and say, no, these people have done horrid things. But you've had to see both sides, because you've obviously sat down with many people, and even women in particular, who have had to defend their life and their children's life. And there's a reasoning why they did what they did. So you must have to filter through so much before you get down to the real person.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I try and maintain is rational compassion. And that's a concept that I got from, oh gosh, I think his name is Richard Bloom. I do apologize to him if I've got this wrong, but there's a wonderful book called Against Empathy.
Oh.
And it talks, I know, and you would think, just a minute, against empathy? Surely we need lots of empathy.
Yeah,
but
don't we?
yeah, empathy, actually, when you break it down, is two things. So there's affective empathy, so feeling how another person feels. If you tell me that you've had a terrible day or, you feel sad, then I'm going to feel sad for you. But there's intellectual empathy, which is knowing why you feel sad. So there's the knowing and the feeling are two separate things.
Yes.
And actually, if you feel too much, that can be a real hindrance to making good decisions.
Yes.
You can imagine in a forensic context, as you say, people have had dreadful lives, and yet they've also done terrible, inexcusable things. They've made choices that are wrong.
Yeah.
And so if I were to over empathize with them, then that would be problematic. I wouldn't be able to do a good risk assessment, and I wouldn't be able to say when necessary, actually, I recommend that this person is not released on parole.
Wow.
So it's about.
And you've been in that position where you've.
Well, luckily for me, it's the judge that makes the decision.
Right.
So there's 3 members of a panel for a parole board. So it's not me that makes that decision, but they look to me for a good scientific
Yes.
risk assessment that is not based on my emotions. So it's about balancing that rationality. So absolute clear logic. What do I know? Strip all emotions out of it. If this means that this person needs to spend another 10 years in jail, so be it. I've got to be realistic about who they are and what their capabilities are and what might happen to them in the future that then might result in another offence. But also, I always want to bring compassion to that. And I think the difference between compassion and empathy, and as I say, it's a fantastic book, is that compassion is about recognizing that we all have rights, human rights, and always having those rights in the back of our mind. So, for example, if I'm assessing somebody who is dangerous, they have the right to be assessed very, very thoroughly.
Right.
They have the right for me to not only look at the factors that make them dangerous, but also look for protective factors. What would make them less dangerous?
Yes.
And look for ways that we can understand their story and treat them as human beings and give them the most opportunity that we possibly can provide them with in the environment that they're at. That for me is compassion. So it's not so much that I am I'm not a bleeding heart liberal, as I've been accused of, but that is what I try and bring to everything. And it's funny, a lot of times I've been accused of being a man hater, which is ridiculous. I know, it's ridiculous.
It does sound ridiculous.
I think it's because I've worked with men who have done some dreadful things.
I did read in your book. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not going to I'm not going to make excuses. I always say that violence is a choice, but some people have fewer choices than others.
Yeah.
And I think that people sometimes think that I go softer on the women that I work with than the men. And that's absolutely not true. And I also think that people think that because I appear on television in crime shows, and I think it's very important to say, no, this behaviour is unacceptable. And I point out where society goes wrong as well in terms of blaming victims, for example, or maintaining
Yes.
stereotypes about victims. But that's not me man hating, because if I hated men, then trust me, I wouldn't be able to sit in a room with somebody who has raped a
Yeah.
child, maybe, and sit and really try and view them as not just their actions, but as a whole human being, and try and
Yes.
unearth that story that I
Wow.
think always
Unearthing a story out of someone that has done horrific things to other humans, that is a gift to be able to
well,
unearth the
it's a
story out of
you have
them.
to work on it. It's a skill that
Yeah.
yeah, you can learn.
I don't think that I could stomach it. And I think it's like if you've had, personal experience around it or something, you can get very quite the emotion comes up of like,
Oh
it's
yes.
just not right. It's not right. You should not be able
Yeah.
to even tell your story. And I love this because I want to pivot into, you said one quote, if you don't tell your story will tell you.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Right. It's a quote from The Examined Life.
Oh,
And again, I
okay.
can't tell you, I've got so many books and I'm
I
very good at
love that.
remembering titles, but not necessarily who's written them. So again, I apologize. But it's a book, and it's a very small book actually, but it's written by a psychotherapist.
Okay.
And they're very, very gentle stories, but there are
Uh-huh.
just some lovely things that you can learn from it. So,
Yes.
and that is a quote from it. And I do truly believe that if you don't give voice to your story so that you yourself understand your story,
Mm.
that you understand it, but also that somebody else has witnessed it. I think that's one of the most important things that therapists do is actually witness somebody else's journey and their
Yeah.
truth, because often these people have not been recognized at all. Nobody has seen it, and nobody has said to them, I'm so sorry for some of the dreadful things that have happened to you. And this was wrong, and you were failed, and you were let down. And it's okay to feel angry about that. It's okay to feel sad about that. So I just
Mm.
think that if you don't have those two things, understanding your story and somebody to witness it for you sensitively, then that story will fester, and all the young people are talking about triggers, aren't they, at the moment? Everything comes with a trigger
We're
warning.
all psychologists now.
Yeah, we are, and it's very yeah, it's TikTok psychology, isn't it? So
Yes.
it's very, I don't know how to describe it really. It's something that drives me absolutely mad, but it's rarely very scientific. Um, and it's these brief takeaways, but nevertheless, yes, we are triggered by things, and in ways that are really quite surprising and subtle sometimes. And then we
Mhm.
flip into, unhealthy child modes, and whether is us becoming a bully, or whether that's us becoming, helpless, or,
Yes.
there's just a
These
myriad of
are learned
ways.
childhood behaviors, aren't they?
So,
They're
so I
learned.
suppose you would call it acting out, which is a phrase again that I don't particularly like, but people will act out. And the number of times I've seen people repeat their histories over and over again until eventually they can go, oh gosh, yeah, now I understand it. Now I see the loop that I'm in. Now I see the
Yeah.
cycle. And that's the first step. And then it's right, okay, but now we've got to start to try and break that cycle. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, it's amazing, really. I do think that everything that we experience gets encoded one way or another into us. That's not to say that
Yes.
people who have traumatic backgrounds will go on to have terrible lives, because that's absolutely not the case. And it doesn't mean that people who live through trauma are dangerous. I work with a small percentage of the population, but I think that we all carry that childhood trauma, those childhood experiences, and
Mm.
I have therapy. I've had therapy myself, and it's amazing. It's amazing what
Wow.
comes up. Yeah,
Forensics psychologist having her own therapy. I mean, it
yeah,
just and this is we've got to normalize this because if we don't have anyone to talk to, Who are we talking to then?
Yeah, and sometimes I think, well, is a therapist doing the job that some really good friends would do?
Yes.
I think that if you've got a really good network of friends and friends who are willing to be honest, that's the
Mm,
important
mm,
thing. I've got a brilliant
mm.
friend who told me when I was engaged to be married, I will be your bridesmaid. I will smile on your wedding day. I will do whatever you want me to do. And I will say this to you, and I will only say it to you once. I will never say it again. Do not marry him. Run for the hills. Run for the hills. Yeah.
Really?
And that is a really good friend. And we can say to each other, you're being, she's very dramatic. So I say, oh, we're getting the drama queen again. Let's try and cut through that. And she'll tell me when I'm, doing something that I shouldn't do, or I'm being ridiculous, or my ego has overtaken me. So I think honest friends, they're usually people's first witnesses, aren't they? And not
Yes,
everybody has
yes.
that social support network.
No, no, and I think
Yeah.
this is why we say, oh, we're so connected now because we're all on, on these
Yeah.
devices, but we're more disconnected than we've ever
We are
been.
more disconnected than ever. And what was it that I saw the other day? That a lot of people are forming relationships and falling in love with their AI companion.
Yeah, yeah, I've
So,
read many stories. They're
sometimes
marrying
you
them. I
get
don't
your
know where
chat
that's.
GPT. So if
Yes.
chat GPT is the best conversation that you've had, I know. I mean, we're laughing,
Where are
but
we
this,
heading?
yeah, but this is
Where
the
are we
truth.
heading?
Yeah, where are we heading? And I think that we're so bombarded. Never have we had so many ways to connect, but also so many ways to be exposed to problematic and damaging information. I
Yes.
think the world is really, really very frightening. I'm glad that I don't have children, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and I can understand that. And I feel like because we're entering a whole new era, it's like all of these new theories or new ways of doing things have suddenly appeared. And you just think, how do I navigate that when I have, lived in a particular way and now I've got to just,
I
establish
know, and I
myself.
think that as we go through, I think there'll be more and more of a return to basics.
Yes,
I think
simple life.
yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? That I think that a lot of people spend a lot of money to go somewhere where their phone is taken from them. They have a digital
Have you
detox.
ever heard? Yeah, it's crazy, isn't
They
it?
they they eat simple, clean food,
I
and they
know.
talk to other people. And this is,
Ooh.
people spend thousands of pounds on this, and clearly,
Let me tell you,
but it
I
doesn't.
heard I heard the craziest thing someone had said on some social media that it'll come to the stage where people will pay for someone to take them for a walk.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, I think if that if that works for you, go into the forest, have the sound bath. This is it. We talk about all of these different therapy ways of doing things, and some of them are really quite, people will spend thousands of pounds to go and sit in cold water, or you name it,
Yes,
somebody to
anything.
smoke sage over them. I think whatever works for you, I've got a very open mind. But I do think that sometimes you have to think, right, I need to go back to that hierarchy of needs.
Yes,
And I
Maslow.
think that we
Yes,
need to go back to actually very, very basic things. And I
yes,
think that, and I learned this working in secure units, the importance of community.
yeah,
I think that we all need to find our tribe.
yeah,
We really
yeah.
do. And I know there's been periods of my life when I've been desperately unhappy, and there've been periods of my life when I've been desperately lonely. And I really do understand that loneliness is a physical pain. And
I do believe that.
we're now starting
Yep.
to get the scientific research to back up just how damaging loneliness can be. And I think that again, at our core, we are all, to a greater or lesser extent, social animals. And
Yes.
I think that we need to go back to basics, and maybe rather than looking for our tribe online, Online societies and communities can be fantastic and very, very supportive. We do need to just go back to basic community, and that's why I personally take time to. I'm chairwoman of a local park.
That's right. You told me
Yeah,
about
that's
this
right,
at the
chairwoman
park.
of a
Yeah.
local park. So I walk my dog, which is my particular form of mindfulness. But also, I know everybody in that park, and there's a cafe, and we sit and we drink tea, and we are people who, in any other circumstance, would not meet each other. And maybe we would meet each other and think, well, they're not like me, so I'm not going to talk to them, you know. And actually, we're a strange group, but of people who have just got wonderful stories. And they've all got
This is
their own
it.
idiosyncrasies. And
Yeah.
some of them have got mental health problems, and some of them believe some quite strange things. And some of them are very straight down the line,
Fascinating.
middle class. And we all get together and I think this is really important. We don't judge each other. We just talk and we laugh and we learn from each other. And actually, for me, that is if I could recreate that, that is the best form of therapy, I think, for people.
To be in a circle where you're just having conversation, but is it also to a physical thing? Is there something going on chemically? I mean, I'm not a scientist
Of
in that
course, yeah,
respect, but there
I'm
must be
sure
something.
I'm sure that the oxytocin is flowing,
Yes.
and I just think that it's a huge stress relief. I think to be outside
Yeah.
in nature as well
Yeah. Yep.
helps
So you've
with
got
that.
that too.
But
Yeah.
I just think, I know from having worked with people who were diagnosed with various psychotic disorders and maybe would hear voices or believed some strange, or what most people would
Yes. I read
think,
about that in your book.
yeah, or strange things, or,
Yeah.
plagued by voices or strange experiences. And we, of course, as staff members, we're not encouraged to talk about ourselves in any way. And I think often because there are boundaries,
Yeah.
and I think it can be it's necessary in forensic circles, but it can be also to patients and possibly also staff's detriment. And what I noticed was when these people were taken to community groups, hearing voices groups, and they sat with other people from all walks of life. So actually the person in that group might well have been a mental health nurse. And they're saying, well, I hear voices too. And this is how I cope with it. And actually I live my life, I succeed
Wow.
despite the fact that I have these voices. And yeah, here are things that I believe and other people don't believe them, but they're listened to by the rest of the group without judgment, and everybody learns from each other. And it really does, it normalizes the experience, and
Yes.
just it provides a level of support that I think that sometimes professionals in their ivory towers, and I think so often clients used to say to me, well, you've got a perfect life, you've got no problems.
Far
Yeah, and
from the
I'd like to
truth,
say,
right?
well, let me tell you, yeah.
Have you
And
got a few
actually,
hours?
yeah, and I have very, very clear boundaries about what I will talk about with clients. But I do try and give not just Kerry Daynes, the forensic psychologist, but Kerry Daynes, the human.
Yeah.
Even though a
Yes.
lot of forensic psychologists have been dissuaded from that. I've had supervisors in the past that tell me to be, robotic like an automaton, but this is it. I think that then you've not got the human connection. And I just think human connections are the most powerful thing that we have to heal each other and ourselves.
Yes. Without human connection, I don't think that we are able to even process the emotions because we haven't got anything to bounce it back off.
Exactly,
Like you're
exactly.
just sitting there on
We
your own. You could be,
reflect it, don't we? And
yeah,
reflect it back to
yes,
us.
yes, yes, it is. And that's that whole mirroring thing, it's a message. It's a message is coming back at you.
Yeah, and of course it can get very twisted in that. The reflection can come back
Yes.
somewhat distorted, and that is where it is helpful to have a trained psychotherapist.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was going to ask you, Kerry, when you look back across your journey, which chapter in as a book, which chapter still whispers to you something that has shaped you and strengthened you? What is that small whisper?
Gosh, I think
It's
the
probably a
dark
lot,
side
but
of the mind. There are so many moments in that book because I thought,
yes.
what stories am I going to tell? How am I going to pick 10 stories from my career? And I thought, well, I don't want to tell stories about serial killers. I don't want to tell stories that glamorize crime. I'm going to tell the stories that affected me. So it became a
Wow.
memoir of my journey and the way that my mindset changed, going from that very black and white mindset that I developed from
Yes.
watching Westerns to where I am now. And it's funny, I got a bad review on Amazon. It said, there's too much of the author in this memoir. Yeah, I know. This is it. You can't please all of the people.
Never.
But writing that book was so cathartic for me. I cried all the way through it. With the second book,
Wow.
yeah, my hair was falling out with that book for various reasons, but it was so cathartic, and I didn't realize how many things I'd squashed.
Suppressed.
Yeah,
Did you find
squashed
it
down and
healing? Was
suppressed.
it
Yeah,
healing for you?
it was absolutely. So it was just I just went through a period of time where I was just, yeah, just typing and sobbing at the same time. It
Wow.
makes it sound like a really miserable book. It's not. It has got jokes in
It's
it.
not.
As I
Yeah.
say, the
I
second,
can't believe I laughed in some sections. Like, should I
yeah,
be laughing?
yeah. The sense of humor is so important, but there are
Yes.
so many moments and so many things that I have learned from my clients. And so that I think was the first line. I can't remember what the first line is, but I know it was something to do with how I've learned from my clients. It's a two-way street. I wanted to,
Yes.
yeah. But I think that, I wrote about my father's death in the second book.
Yeah.
I wrote about all kinds of things, but I wrote about my early experiences in the dark side of
Yeah.
the mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And you are a brave young woman. Situations that you were put in, I was like, I would have freaked out.
Yeah,
I
and
just would have run away.
I did have a very, very abusive relationship
Yes.
at the age of 20, 21, 22.
And these are
And
things not spoken about too, remember? Like a
no,
lot of young girls suppress this and oh, it's okay,
yeah.
it's
And I think that
normal.
people think that, oh, well, it only happens to weak women. And actually, it happened to me at my most vulnerable because that's when
Yes.
they will recognize it and pick you off.
Wow.
But for me, it was a baptism of fire and it was a learning curve and it was
Yeah.
very, very painful. But I think that experience and also the experience then later on when I became the victim of a stalker.
Yes, I read about it. It's like, what is
Yeah,
going on here? And that person just sounded utterly
I know.
nuts.
So I
So,
became the victim of a stalker around sort of 2012, although it went on
yes.
for years. He was stalking me for a couple of years before I knew it. I know. And that felt very similar to me. I felt like I was being subjected to
Wow.
this unwanted relationship. So it very
So it's
much
a
brought
cycle.
things back.
Yeah. Yes. The
And
emotions.
actually, there was a pivotal moment for me where I thought, I'm in an abusive relationship with a man that I've never met. Yeah. I
Yeah.
would never want to have any contact with.
Yes. But you feel the same
And I got
feelings.
really angry. How bloody dare he? Yeah. I've been there, done that. So it got me very, very angry. And that anger was harnessed. And then I started to, I'm now a trustee for the Susie Lamplugh Trust, which runs the
See
National
how it.
Stalking Helpline. I am the chair of the
Wow.
National Stalking Consortium, who
Look
really
at that.
do. shape the way that we respond in law and in policing to stalking. And there's a lot of work to be done, but we can save lives doing that. So would I change any of it? Do you know what? I absolutely wouldn't. I really wouldn't, despite the fact that, I don't want to give too much away, but both of those events took me to really terrible places. Terrible,
Yeah.
terrible places. Really, they really did. And the humiliation that I felt as a 22-year-old when I eventually did take this man that I'd been seeing for a short period of time, but was very abusive, to court, and the way that was reported on in the media, it was something that I thought that I would never recover from. I thought that my career was over, that this
Wow.
was it. I was done. And actually, it hasn't turned out to be like that. I don't believe that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, because sometimes what doesn't kill you just traumatizes you terribly for a long
For
time.
a long time.
But with help and with friends, and with I'm gonna credit myself here with a bit of grit. You
Grit. Yeah.
can, yeah, you can
Yeah.
get through. But I do appreciate that, I've had opportunities that others haven't. And I had, and something that, I thank my lucky stars for, I had a great dad.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
my early experiences of men were very, very positive. So it wasn't that I was going to then repeat abusive
Wow.
relationships.
That is
So, I'm
extraordinary.
so grateful for that. Otherwise, I think the story could have turned out really very
Yeah.
differently.
Could have
Yeah.
kept going on. And that is a beautiful thing that you had that wonderful relationship
Yeah,
with your
no, I'm
father,
always
which
thankful for that. As much as he used to drive me absolutely bats at times, could drive me mad more than any other, I think. But yeah, I'm very, very grateful for that, and just the very solid background that I come from.
it's very important, isn't it, as a daughter or a young woman to have that relationship with their father if they
Yeah.
can have
Yeah,
that.
and if not their father, then a father figure. And I think
Yes.
it's so, so important for men as well. And so many men don't
Yes.
grow up with
Yeah.
that father figure.
Absolutely. And we're seeing that more and more as it the absent father,
Yeah,
you know, whether he's not there or he just works a lot or just not able to integrate
yeah,
in some way because they
yeah.
too probably didn't have a great
Mm.
upbringing with their own father. I
I
mean, it
know. But
goes
having
on.
said that, I also think, and maybe this is one of the good things about, the TikTok generation, is that I do notice that men of my generation are really putting more effort into being good
Yes.
fathers. And
Yes.
sometimes that comes from a place of recognizing what they didn't get. So,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
that we are
And
seeing, and it's more visual because we're seeing so much. But it was all hidden before. We didn't
yeah,
know. You weren't going to go to the
exactly.
neighbor's house and watch them and see what they're doing. Now we're
Yeah.
seeing it on a device. I'm like, oh, that's what people
Yeah.
do.
And I know that you and I share um a guilty pleasure, which is reality TV.
Yes, it's terrible.
Yeah, I know it's dreadful. I know. I
But it's
think, oh,
all
my
about
brain
human
cells.
behavior.
My
It's all
exactly,
about,
exactly. I'm watching it for professional reasons, not just for my
yes.
brain cells. But one of the things, and there's so much terrible things that we see on TV, but I think that one of the good things from reality TV is we've seen the birth of the bromance. And we've
Yes.
seen men start to have deeper friendships with
Yeah, hang out
themselves. And I
together.
am
Yeah.
so here for it. I really,
Yes.
I cheer when I see young men crying and
Yes.
hugging on
It's
television. I
it's
really
so
do.
absurd, yes, but it has shifted that way. I mean, you look at Love is Blind and all them, and there's so many different countries. so many seasons now, and you're starting to see that where the men are like together and they're like, yeah, we're doing this. And so it's like, wow, interesting. And they're getting a bit more in depth and opening themselves up and stuff.
I
So
know. So I think that, that's what it's not all doom and gloom, is it? That's what
no,
we need to recognize and encourage. And there's so much negative input for men on the,
of
on the
course.
internet, the manosphere. So the more hugging and crying they can do on reality TV, the better, I think.
Well, it helps the world and it helps us heal because we're here to heal. Where I do believe that we're on this earth to heal something within ourselves and within humanity.
Well, there's the great poem that I have quoted on more than one occasion in court. So am I allowed to swear?
You can, yes.
Is that okay? So yeah, trigger warning for a swear word. Yeah.
Beep, beep, beep.
Yeah, which of course is a Philip Larkin poem. They fuck you up, your mum and dad. They don't mean to, but they do. They give you all the faults they have and add extra just for you. But they were fucked up in their turn by men in high-topped hats and coats who half the time were soppy stern and half at each other's throats. But misery is passed from man to man. It deepens like a coastal shelf. Get out as quickly as you can and don't have kids yourself.
Oh gosh.
So apologies to Larkin if I didn't get that quite correct, but it's,
Wow.
it's the truth, isn't
Wow.
it? It really
Yeah, and
is
it
the truth.
and like you said, it's a cycle and it's a loop that we all must do the work to try and stop, you know.
Yeah.
And here, we are talking about women and them having, the desire to have impact within whatever they choose to do in their life. Like you said, it's a journey, right? What can you leave us with, Kerry, that really can give that inspiration to
All right, so I'm going to give you some
women?
inspirational quotes that work for me. Um, Madonna has never been an icon of mine. So there are lots of reasons why I wouldn't point to Madonna for self-help, but she did talk about the power of reinventing herself. Because of course she's reinvented
Yes,
her image over and over
always.
again. And actually, there are times when I thought, right, I need to reinvent myself, whatever that means for me in that moment. So I would say that a quote for me is, life is a series of new beginnings.
Oh, wow.
And I think that no matter how dark things seem, you have to realize that actually the sun is going to come out at some point and happier days are around the corner. And I always say to people that nothing stays the same, even if you want it to.
No,
Even if you
that's very
want it
true.
to. So it's actually one of the tragedies of life that things don't stay the same when we're in a beautiful place. But equally, so I think it's about taking your power in these moments and thinking about, how am I going to actively reinvent myself, and how I'm going to actively do things to help myself so that when that sun comes out, I
You're
can
ready.
make the most of it.
Yes, that is brilliant. I do love that. And it is true. Things have to change. You can't just be in the same
Yeah,
same moment for the rest of your life. And reinvention is something that as we go through the journey of life as a woman, we have to press into that. We have to
yeah.
reinvent throughout the timeline. You get to a certain timeline and you go, you know what? I think this is now time for me to do this and reinvent into this, or take
Yeah,
on extra, skills, or go back to study and do those things that you just didn't get
I
a
know.
chance to
And
do.
I'm going to be 52 in February.
Ah, congratulations.
I know, 52 in February. And I am still reinventing
Yeah.
myself, and sometimes you have to do so out of necessity. That I've lost my hearing. And so,
Yes.
yeah, I'm now deaf, and that makes things difficult to work in the forensic arena. But, you know, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I just know that I'm going to actively evolve with it as much as I possibly
Yes.
can. Yeah. And try and shape it as much as I possibly can.
It is amazing that we didn't even get into to talk about that, the fact that you're able to lip read
I know,
to
ninja
this
level lip
degree.
reading, but I do
Like
have
it's
hands-on
ninja
experience
level.
as well. Yeah.
But still, I mean, it's amazing because there's no pause in between. It's just like we're talking and you're
Yeah.
like, it's all happening.
Oh, it's
It's
tiring though. It's
phenomenal.
really
I
tiring.
can imagine. I can
Yeah. And if
imagine.
you've got people that cover their mouth or people,
Oh,
yeah, or know that you're deaf and so start to talk like this, it
like
actually
this.
makes it harder to,
Words because you're gonna,
yeah,
what are you trying to
exactly.
say?
What on earth are you doing? Yeah.
Because no one walks around going, hello, how are
No,
you?
exactly. It's like Brits abroad, isn't it? When they talk to people and they don't know the language, so they just talk very, very slowly and very loudly. That's what
Oh
I do all the
God.
time.
It's better just to talk normally and then you're going, okay, we're just having a normal conversation. And I'm sure if something you didn't hear or understand, you'd be like, well, can you say it again? Like it's quite simple, right?
Yeah, you do get embarrassed, I think. Well, I get embarrassed if you ask several
Really?
times over. So
Oh
some people are
no.
easier to understand than others, but that's life anyway, isn't it?
Well, I
But
tell you
yeah, so
what,
this is it.
you're
Nothing stays the
amazing.
same. We are constantly
No, and we're
forced
made
to,
to evolve.
yeah, evolve.
Next level. I always think like, when does this evolution stop? But I don't
Well,
think it
on the
does.
day
I
you
don't think
die,
it
I
does.
suppose, and then probably
I
it
guess.
doesn't stop.
I
Then
don't
it's
who
probably
know.
another story.
We wouldn't want to go into that
No,
conversation. What happens after that, you know?
yeah.
I want us to just quickly tell us about the books, please. Please put them up again because I want to see
Ah,
them.
right. Okay. So this
Um,
is my little
I need,
sales.
I
Sales.
no, well, I love the books and I
Yeah.
think they need to be talked about.
So this is the first book, The Dark Side of the Mind. So this is very much a memoir, but as you say, intertwined with stories of clients who have taught me so much. So you get to read about my failures and my successes and how my mindset really changes, really. So it is an evolution, the book.
Mm.
And then the second book, which I did have fun writing, it's got a bit less of me in it. As you can see, The Dark Side of the Mind sold enough that they allowed me to have my face on this particular book.
So the
Although,
other one,
yeah, no,
flat
yeah, it's not even
face.
me. Yeah, I'm a headless person on the other book. So you know you've made it when your face is allowed on, but I was contractually obliged not to smile. So looking very serious.
Oh, very forensic of you.
Very forensic, yeah, yeah. So, and this are stories of madness, badness, and misunderstandings that we
Oh,
have about the people that I work with. And there are certainly emotional moments in this book for me, but also I had a lot of fun writing it.
wow. I can't wait to get into the second book. I want to thank you so much, Kerry, for being on Her Voice Impacts and giving us a part of your story, but also just the interesting life that you have had as well and continue to have because things are
Hopefully,
just,
fingers crossed.
yes, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to more books. That's what I want. I want a whole
Yeah,
like
yeah, I
section.
know that's a challenge for me at the moment, but yeah, I've
Oh,
got to write more books, haven't I, in the future?
you do have to write more books. And I kind of feel that you're going to go into books where they're like characters are going to build into big like trilogies and they're just going to continue on. I don't
I think maybe
know.
some crime fiction books that are
That's what I
based on, yeah,
thought.
yeah, based
And we
on
need
true
some of that.
stories. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I'd be in it. I'd be in it straight away. And usually I'm more of a, like, I like to read a lot of books about theory and psychology and all that kind of
yeah,
thing. But I don't have much of a mind to sit and read these type of books. But this one was like, I just can't put it down. Couldn't put it down. The dark side of the mind. I was like,
that is music to my ears, and hopefully, there's a little bit of there is psychology in there. It's interweaved in
there
there.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the thing I like is that you're in there too. So the weaving of it is actually really interesting because I was able to come in and out and go, oh, okay, yeah. And the thing is, your writing is so visual. Like I am immersed
yeah,
straight into the situation. I mean, some of it's scary, and I'm like, I can't read this at night.
yes,
Got a little bit scared, but then everything was okay. So like, this is a story, it's okay. It's not you
yeah.
going in there, but I feel very immersed into the storyline. each time, each new
Good.
chapter, I was like, whoa,
Good.
what am I
And
expecting?
I would also hope that it would challenge your way of thinking about
It did.
characters as
It
well.
really did. Yeah, it really did. And I would love to have an actual personal chat with you at one point,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of things there that are very relatable, very, and quite like, oh, need to have a chat with her about this, but that'll be for another time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're always available by Zoom.
Oh, bless you. And where's Captain
Captain
Potato? Fur Potato.
He's in his
Captain Fur
basket.
Potato. Oh, he's gone. He's
Basket.
gone.
Let's go and get him.
Go get him so we can say
Yeah, I'll go and
goodbye
get
to him. And at least he needs to have a little, having a goodbye moment. Oh, darling.
Oh,
Hey,
woken up.
Captain. Oh, you had a
You know
big
what?
nap from your other nap.
Oh, sorry. He's a very cheeky little thing, but whenever he's in front of a camera, he seems to fall asleep. He's like a dormouse.
Oh, it's so, look at his little face though. It's so, he's
big
tired. Kerry is tired. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kerry. It was a blessing. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.